This week on EDI Sports Show. Do you see how this is a problem? We're now drowning in cards. And this is the data that I was talking about last week. Again, when I was talking about that the trend of the market is to the downside. This is what it means. 53 million singles have not sold on eBay. So if you were looking at this from an asset class, if you were looking at this from a stock market sense, that means the float, the amount of cards outstanding is 53 million singles that people wanted to sell but did not sell. Welcome back to EDI Sports Show, where every Friday we take a closer look at the sports and sports card world so you know how to make sense of the madness. I'm your host, Doc Schwartz, and if you don't know who I am, I'm a former sports journalist, 21st century expert educator, and a 40-year collector. And what I try to do each week is break down what I think is the most important topics in the sports card hobby and also what's happening in the sports world in general. And this week, I'm looking at how many cards there are in the market. That's right. Do you know how many cards are listed on eBay right now? And do you know the eBay numbers? Because if you don't, how do you know where the market is going? In this week's episode, I will break down the numbers for you and then give you my 2 cents. But if you're new to this channel, I want to hear your 2 cents as well. That's right. At the end of every episode of EDI Sports Show, I highlight several comments from my viewers and I read them on air and also comment on your opinions and viewpoints. It's my favorite part of the show because I love to talk sports and sports cards, and the viewer comments allows me to talk directly with you guys. So keep making more comments because I love reading them. But before we get to your comments, let's go over the question of the week. Here we go. And the question I want you guys to be asking yourself and answering in the comments is, where do you think the market is going in 2025? Now, if you missed last week's episode, I actually did this. This is the market trend. So where is the market going in 2025? I said last week that I think the market will be down 10%. Now, we're going to go into the numbers. Again, this is the whole point. We're going to go into the numbers this week. So I want you guys to tell me, where do you think, where do you think the market is going? Do you agree? Do you think it's going to be down 10%? Or do you think it's going to be something else? Do you think the market will be up this year by the end of the year? Or do you think it'll be down even more? That's the question that we're asking this week because we're going into the eBay numbers. So if you're ready, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and let's get down to it. So here we go. The first screen. So these are the eBay numbers that you need to know. There are, as I checked, so May 1st, 2025. Okay, so that's the date, May 1st, 2025. As of May 1st, there were 64 million single cards for sale on eBay. 50 million cards were under $5. Okay, so you got 64 total million single cards for sale, and 50 million of those were for under $5. All right, now there are also 1.7 active million auctions going on right now. So those are your numbers. Okay, that's the big picture. Now, how many cards have sold on eBay? So here we go. 64 million cards for sale and 11 million cards sold as of May 1st. Again, trying to figure out exactly if it's a 30-day or 60-day time horizon from the numbers is really difficult to do. So if you guys can actually break that down, how many cards, so 11 million singles sold as of May 1st on the end date, how far back does it go? Does anybody know how to figure that out? How far back are we looking at? Are we looking at March 1st? Are we looking at February 1st? Are we looking at January 1st? Like, is that 11 million singles sold as of January 1st through May 1st? That's what I can't figure out right now, is how far back. I'm going to say that I think this is either a 30 or 60-day time horizon. So it's 11 million cards sold as of May 1st over the last 30 to 60 days, which means what? Here we go. This is what it means. 53 million singles have not sold on eBay. That's your, so if you were looking at this from an asset class, if you were looking at this from a stock market sense, that means the float, the amount of cards outstanding is 53 million singles that people wanted to sell but did not sell. That means that the percentages are off. 11 million sold, 53 million did not sell. That's 1/5. That means only 20% of the cards actually sold. That means 80% of the cards are still on the market. Do you see how this is a problem? We're now drowning in cards. And this is why I think the market trend is going to be down again 10% by the end of the year, because we don't have momentum anymore. The sales are not happening. And because the sales are not happening, inventory is starting to go up. And once inventory builds, then it becomes a buyer's market, not a seller's market, which is where we were in the pandemic. This is now a buyer's market. And that's the thing that I hope everybody can kind of recognize. And this is the data that I was talking about last week. Again, when I was talking about that the trend of the market is to the downside. That's all I'm saying, is that this is the numbers. This is the data. This is what the things that you need to look at. Now, that's just the eBay numbers. We still haven't talked about auction numbers. We still haven't talked about card show numbers. And just for all of you guys to understand, so I'm in Arizona now. Again, I grew up in New York and New Jersey. I'm in Arizona now, and there are 6 monthly shows every month here in Arizona. How many card shows do you have in your local area? Definitely put it down in the comments. Give me the state that you're in. So if you're in New York, how many monthly shows are in New York? So if you're in New York City, or if you're upstate, make that distinction. If you're in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, give me Boston, Massachusetts, give me Michigan, give me Ohio, where Card Collector 2 is at. Give me Florida, give me Georgia, give me Texas. How many card shows are in Texas? California. Again, I want to know how many card shows are in your local area every single month. Now, I believe, based on my research, I believe there's 30 states with at least one monthly show. 30 out of 50. That's a lot of shows. And if you think about it, if the average show is around 50 to 60 tables, that's most shows, then you're looking at more, thousands and thousands of cards. So if you got 30 shows, you got 50, 60 tables, that's a few, maybe 100,000 cards per show, maybe even like 500,000 cards. Again, we're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of cards that are not being sold every single week, every single month. The inventory is starting to pile up. Even you guys can kind of talk about it. Like, how many cards do you have still in your PC that you might want to sell, but it's kind of like, well, where would I sell them? Well, how would I get rid of them? I can't put them on eBay. So like I said, so here's the numbers. Let's go back to them. So there are 50 million cards listed on eBay for under $5. Now remember, eBay's taking fees. You also have shipping costs, which you have to decide. Am I going to ship for free, or am I going to charge for shipping? If you have a 99-cent card, guess what? Shipping costs more than the card now. That's where inflation becomes an issue. If it's a 99-cent card, you have more, the cost of shipping it is more than the cost of the card. At some point, we have to just kind of get around the economics of the hobby. It's becoming harder and harder to sell your cards. And that's why the market trend is down. That's why I said, where is the market going in 2025? That's why I said the market is going to the downside. Now, again, 10% I don't think is a panic situation. We might have some volatile things going on. Who knows what's going to happen this summer? I mean, it's possible, it's certainly possible that this summer we have a crash and then we kick back up for the beginning of the football season. There's a real possibility that we do have a crash this summer, especially if everybody starts tightening their belts economically, because there's a lot of unemployment coming our way. Again, it took a while. I'm a year off at this point, but again, also our government was fudging numbers and also putting in Doge has already cut $200 billion from the budget. $200 billion. Well, think about it. Most of that money was actually jobs. Most of that money were jobs. So in some respects, I get where some people are coming from. Well, you cut $200 billion worth of jobs. So yeah, that's going to hurt the economy. Absolutely. On the other hand, who is paying for these $200 billion worth of jobs? Nobody, because the government is already taking in less money than they spend. So who is actually paying all these people? And that's the question, is who's paying for all these cards? I don't want people to get into a panic. I don't want people to kind of lose their minds over this. But the real question is, again, 64 million cards for sale and only 11 million cards sold. That's the numbers. That means 80% of the market is still on the market. People are not buying them. And like only a 1.7 million auctions. That's it. That's not even, it's a drop in a bucket. It's not the whole market. So it means we've got a lot of cards that are just sitting there. And one of the things that everybody needs to do is analyze the market more like real estate. This is your market. eBay is the largest reseller. It's basically the Zillow of sports cards. So if cards are sitting on the market here, that means that the market is not hot anymore. It's just not hot. You're going to be able to sell the hot players. Absolutely. Those will always sell no matter where you are. Again, you have to be within, comps. But all these other players, 64 million cards. Again, these are singles. I haven't even done breaks. I haven't even done boxes. I haven't even done lots. I'm just talking single cards. So these are anywhere, again, 50 million or under $5. So that's your dollar bin cards all the way up to $5, which is a lot of cards. I would put these cards in the $5 range, So I would put these two in the $5 range. They're worth about 10. So what would they sell for? About $5. So that's my point, is that there's a lot of cards in that category. Every junk wax card is probably in that category. Now, in slabs, this is the issue. A lot of those slabs are only worth $10. The slab itself costs more than the card is worth. And this is the problem. Only 11 million singles were sold. That's ungraded and graded, 11 million. That's it. So hopefully people are understanding what I'm saying. Hopefully this show is starting to give people a better sense of the hobby, the market. I want to talk more about sports, so definitely let me know what you think about any of the sports going on. So the NBA playoffs, let me know about the hockey playoffs. I mean, some of these games are incredible. I mean, their teams are going after each other like there's no tomorrow, because there is no tomorrow. For a lot of these teams, this is it. This might be their only shot at winning a championship. This might be their only shot, and they know it. So they're playing with intensity, which is great for fans, and it's great for the leagues. But, again, this is the question. So for you guys, let me know. So these are the questions for the week. Where do you think the market is going? Like I said, I think the market trend is down 10%. But what do you think? As I said before, we're going to get to the viewer comments. So just stay tuned. And here we go. Now it's time for the viewer comments. I love this part. We have a ton of comments because this video, Market Collapse 2025, that one I got a ton of comments on, so I want to be able to go through them. Everybody that's not subscribed, subscribe now, because this is where you get to make your 2 cents known. So let's get to the first one from Ziggy No. Here it goes. He says, cheers, appreciate your hustle and insights. Well, guess what, Ziggy, I appreciate you. You've been an OG from the beginning. So let's get to the second one. This is a new one from Dave White 113. This is what he says. I think graded cards will collapse in the coming years. The big grading companies are causing cards to go for crazy high prices. That will be part of the business that will almost totally collapse in the next couple of years. Dave, you might be 100% correct. We have a problem in the hobby right now because of the grading companies. Now, again, this is not really because of the actual grading companies. I mean, it's really the hype of the social media influencers. But the problem is that if you don't have a PSA 10 or an SGC 10 or a BGS, pristine label, nobody wants your card. And that's the problem, is that there's sort of a preference to the high end, and therefore no one wants cards that are graded lower. Now, I don't know what that means other than there's going to be a collapse in the card market, because how many of the upper end cards will there be? Again, there's a limitation on that. So I guess if you want demand, sure, demand for the PSA 10s and the BGS, pristines are going to be high, but you know how many cards have been printed? So what happens with, ungraded cards? What happens with, PSA 7s or an SGC 4? Again, we're going to have a problem over the next 10 years with a lot of these cards, and most people are not thinking about it. All right, let's get to the next one. This is from Jeezy Keen. Thanks, Jeezy. Well, with there being product coming out every week, it's Junk Wax 2.0. That is a good comment to say. Rolling Stones Panini cards, SpongeBob tops. I've seen this before. Jeezy, you're correct. You have seen this before. This is what happened after the last boom in the late 80s, early 90s. The card companies went crazy. We had a card company called Score. Who cares about Score? Leaf took off. A whole bunch of card companies got a lot of printed product out there, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. So, yeah, I guess if you're a collector, that's something to be looking out for. Like, collect what you want, but be careful on the back end. A lot of these values, again, the values are not really there. All right, let's get to the next one. This is from, again, another first-time commenter. So Andrew Marks 4640. So long as there are gamblers, the hobby hype continues. I mean, that should be a bumper sticker, right? I mean, right there. Thank you, Andrew Mark. All right, let's get to Tim K 1976. I think this is 3 weeks in a row, Tim. All right, here we go. What's the Joe Burrow question mark? Here's my prediction for the 2025 NFL season. Burrow, AFC MVP. Well, yeah, I guess if you're predicting that Joe Burrow is going to win an MVP, well, then there is no question mark. So I understand why you're asking that question. But I'm telling you, I don't think that's happening. I don't think that Joe Burrow is going to win an MVP next year. But my question is, can he actually lead the Cincinnati Bengals to a Super Bowl? Because this might be the last year. Because how are they going to sign all their players? Again, Jamar Chase ain't young. Like, Joe Burrow's going to, all of these players are going to start to get into contract negotiations. You can't keep everybody for more than, this is now going to be 4 years in. We're at the end of this window, and Burrow hasn't won anything yet. He's got to go back to the Super Bowl. So that's the question. Can he do that? Can he do that? All right, let's get to the next comment. This is from Jack Emerson, 1171. Modern is hot garbage. Yeah, that should be a bumper sticker right there. Modern is hot garbage. I want to thank you so much for that one. All right, next comment. Let's get to Rich Capo, 4958. It's definitely crashing. The newest stuff for sure. Vintage and stuff that's been around with proven stars and less population counts are going to hold better, but newest stuff is rough. Well, the issue really with pop counts is, again, it's only the number of cards that have been graded. What are you going to do with all the ungraded stuff? So again, this is the issue, is that there's been an over preference to high graded cards, and as a detriment to everything else, at a complete detriment to everything else. So that's the issue, guys. Like, what do you think? I mean, is there a way to fix this? Because it's a problem in the hobby. It's a real problem in the hobby, because if everybody only wants PSA 10s or SGC 10s or, BGS pristines, well, there aren't enough cards to go around. So again, are you collecting to be a museum, or are you collecting to be a collector? Tell me, let me know in the comments, like, why do you collect the cards that you collect? Do you actually just care about the players or the manufacturers or the way the cards look, or do you just collect because other people tell you the cards are valuable? Like, that's really the problem with the hype, is you're collecting cards because other people are saying you should buy these cards. I mean, that's the entire SCI broadcast. That's the whole channel, is top 5 cards you should buy. That's all it is. That's all they do. And it's all based on, market manipulation within their app. Now, again, their app is not doing that on purpose. It's just not teasing out the problem. So how many cards are sold per player? It's not just how many cards, what are the last comps? It's not just that in terms of value of the cards. It's how many cards are outstanding. So Shohei Ohtani, absolutely, the comps are more accurate because so many cards are selling all the time. Aaron Judge, same thing. Like, these players are selling all the time, so you can trust the comps. But when a player is not selling that well and there's millions of cards on the market, like, you can't trust those comps. Again, if you have the experience, you know that. A lot of people don't. A lot of people like to, dismiss my experience in the hobby. Again, you can do that to your own detriment, but if you follow my advice, you're not going to lose your money. That's all I'm saying. If you follow my advice, you're not going to lose your money. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm not telling you what to collect. I'm just telling you how to not lose your money. All right, let's get to the next one. This one is from Rufa Sports Cards. Sports card market is not crashing. See, so this is how I want you guys to know. I don't just curate the comments. I pick them out and I put them up on air. I had a whole bunch of people saying card market's going to crash. Had someone say that the modern sports card market is garbage. And here you go. Here's a contradictory statement. Sports card market is not crashing. I wish, though, Rufa, you would have given some evidence of that. Why do you think it's not crashing? Because again, just saying that, like, okay, I mean, that's your opinion. We don't know what it's based on. Why are you saying that? Are you going to card shows and you're seeing every dealer selling out? But who are they selling to? See, this is the issue. What I'm seeing is there is a bifurcation of the market. Collectors are spending money. They are. But they're not spending a lot of money. The people who are buying most of the cards are all of the breakers and the pack makers, the mystery packs. So you got Arena Club buying millions of dollars worth of cards every single year. You've got Cards HQ buying millions of dollars worth of cards every single year. You got Burbank Sports Cards buying millions of dollars of cards every single year. You even have Topps doing the buyback program. They're buying millions of dollars worth of cards just for the MVPs. That's what's driving the market, is all of this influx of money from basically Wall Street into the hobby, which is good for the top end cards. It's really bad for everything else because the hobby is slowly contracting. There's not that much demand on the lower end. And that means all the graded cards under 9s. All the graded cards under 9s. There's a real slowing of the market. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully Rufa has some evidence to the contrary. All right, Last comment. This is from Charles Fuchs. And this is, I believe, a first-time comment, but I don't know. I might have had a comment from you before. Anyway, here we go. Going to be worse. Another lost decade is coming. Ooh, all right. Well, I actually have to agree with that. I think we're going to have a dormant period. When it will begin it's going to be soon. I don't think it's going to be this year. I don't think it's going to be next year, but there's a good possibility before this decade is up that we start this kind of dormant period again, just like it was from about 1995 to around 2004. Okay, so 1995 to 2004 was kind of a dormant period for the hobby. Like it really, really slowed down, and there just wasn't much going on. There wasn't any hype. Cards were not selling for big dollar amounts. Again, I think these higher end ones and obviously the one-on-ones are going to continue to get headlines, but there's going to be fewer of them. You know, how many more players can make a splash like Paul Skeens? You know, like again, we already have the Ellie De La Cruz. I don't think he's got an MLB patch. Like, so there's a lot of players that I just don't know how much hype we're going to be able to get going forward. And that's the question. How much can these sports teams and these sports leagues get hype? Now, obviously, Fanatics is going to do marketing starting next year. Does that hype up the players? Like if they start marketing the players, that's what Sports Cards needs. They need more hype around the players so that the cards themselves have some value. Right now, there is no real hype around cards, and I'm not quite sure exactly what Fanatics is thinking of doing, because how do you make it cool to collect sports cards? I don't think they even care. I don't think they're going to make it cool. I think they're going to try to go in the gambling aspect. I think they're going to say, the problem is the price point. So, the lottery for, let's say the state, it's $1 or $2 for a lottery ticket. So, the New York state lottery used to be $1 for a dream. I mean, like you pay $1 and it's a dream that you're going to be a millionaire. That's what they were selling. They were selling the dream. Fanatics has to do the same thing because the prices are so high. Like, why would you buy it? As a collector, why would you buy wax? So this is the issue here. I don't know what the answers are. Just saying, I don't know what the answers are, but we're getting to the problems, the questions that we have to ask ourselves, and then going forward, hopefully as a community, we can figure it out. If you have not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like this show and like this channel. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining me this week. This is Doc saying, have a great weekend.